Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Frontier Friday. I am your host, your best friend, your good man in the morning, and in the evening and the afternoon as well. CCP Jötunn, joined alongside my good friend, CCP DGent, community developer for eFrontier, here visiting. He's not usually in the office, but not usually in the office, not usually in the country, but he is here today. He's my co-host today. Co-host. I'm just now dropping that on you. And we're also joined, of course, by my other two good friends. Of course, CCP Overload community shitposter and CCP Rauður.
There you go.
Nailed it. First try.
Oh.
Our technical director for eFrontier. Looking dashing, by the way.
Thank
We
you.
were talking just before the stream about how everybody here, CCP Overload pointed out that everybody here has a distinct style. Of course, CCP DGent to my left, very game developer chic. CCP Overload over here, slightly more advanced game developer chic. CCP Rauður with Icelandic fisherman vibe, and then of course,
You called it the local crackhead?
local crackhead, yeah, local vagrant.
Huffing crude.
Absolutely. I'm going to be on stage probably for FanFest this year during one of the opening or closing ceremonies, and I'm going to see if they'll let me wear this on stage. I'm sure CCP Orca might have the poor one might have an aneurysm.
Technically, it was a gift to you that shared by the players of Frontier.
That is
it
true.
would be rude not to.
This is merch. This is Frontier merch. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is Frontier merch.
Love that.
Shout out to Tribe Reapers for this monstrosity. It's a little tight, but we get the job done. It's probably more on me than it is on the shirt. Anyway, all right, friends, we're going to be talking today with CCP Rauður about the technical lift that has been happening over the last several months, the transition from the previous EVM chain over to SWI, some of the benefits, some of the challenges that came with that, and then obviously we're going to be talking about the big news that came out yesterday, but we'll get to that here in just a moment. So before we kick off, CCP Rauður.
That's why I picked it.
I know.
That's why you need
just
to
to
be
fuck
co-host.
over Americans specifically. Let's talk about what you do. I mean, and your technical director encompasses a lot of different things. You oversee a lot of different teams. What does your task list look like on a day-to-day basis?
So mainly my focus is on EVNet.
Yeah.
That kind of encapsulates the blockchain part of it.
Mhm.
And then I work really closely with Kristinn Thor. He was the technical director of EVE Online,
Mhm.
then for platform, and now he's joined us as the game play director and was in part game design director.
Yeah.
And we kind of work together of maintaining the technical integrity of
Sure.
the whole project.
So when we say technical, stuff, we're generally talking about just about everything on the back end that makes the game run or everything that makes it move, right? Obviously, there's a lot on the front end that all the design and the creative stuff, everything you see, but there's also a lot of back end movement that has to make sure the thing, it's the engine to the car.
Yeah, there's a phenomenal amount of
An
stuff.
insane amount of
There's a very thin layer of
a
sheen
veneer, yeah.
on top of just a mountain of
Yeah.
complexity.
And
Especially when you consider that it's a custom game engine.
Yeah.
By far the best in the world for running a distributed MMO.
Yes.
With everyone being able to play on one single shard universe. There's nothing else like that. That has a lot of its own challenges, a lot of its own technical specificities.
Yeah.
And then when you bring in EVNet and decentralization and allowing people to build and create within that ecosystem as well,
Sure.
you're unlocking a huge amount of complexity. But luckily, we hire people exclusively with the same first name.
That is true.
To be our technical directors.
We have two different Kristins specifically for this job. I'm sure we have more Kristins elsewhere in the company. It turns out it's a very popular name, as it turns out. So let's then talk about because the big we talk about technical lift and how this whole thing moving on to SWI has been a technical lift, but there was a previous technical lift that you guys had to undertake back when we were moving from. Or the platform team worked on moving from Python 2 to Python 3, and that was obviously a huge endeavor. Would you say that this transition has been a greater or a not as significant challenge as that was?
It's different,
Yeah.
but I would not say greater. I think like moving the whole monolith this monster that we have.
Yeah.
And that is able to power this huge MMO. Moving that to Python 3 was just a huge effort by the whole company. And that was, I think, fair to say that was a bigger effort. But this is still like, it's a different kind of thing.
Sure.
We're not just updating the underlying software, moving to a new platform, and we just have to build all the tools and everything that is needed to move over to Sui.
Because we're really talking about like an entirely new language that we're working with here, right? I mean, I forgive my naivete here, but the previous language of contracts and everything else that came with the EVM chain are significantly different than what we're getting from Sui with the move language.
I went from Solidity
I mean,
junior technical director.
I'm just saying, you pick up a little buzzword.
All right,
Paul's job.
Tell us
really
some of the key features of the move language compared to Solidity.
I know that things are items, objects. Everything's an object. Which is convenient because in EVE Online, of course, everything has a box.
Yeah.
So we're just going
boxes
from
boxes
to objects, which sounds great. So
the boxes thing was a real big issue on EVM because the way the Carbon engine works with every item, everything in the game is an item, and it's in a location, and everything is just boxes within boxes within boxes. This goes all the way up to the level of the universe. It's just a box. It has an item ID and everything. And the very first time we got on-chain interactions working way back years ago, EVM, we had to basically build some object stuff onto it, which was really complicated.
Yeah.
And I remember we had to set up, there was like 3 people around my computer, we were all watching, and I dragged an item into the very, very first like smart storage unit that we had based online, and we kind of watched it as it kind of like did some stuff, and then it appeared briefly, then disappeared, and then came back, and then disappeared, and then things went haywire. And it turned out that there was a problem, and instead of putting the item inside the box, it put the universe inside the box.
Oh, word.
So then it was trying to figure out where it was. So it was okay, the universe is in this box, in this system, in this region, in this universe, in this box, and it would just panic, delete it.
Yeah.
Because it was like trying to preserve its integrity, and then the chain was like, why has that been deleted? That shouldn't be deleted. Put it back.
Sure.
And we were around in circles.
Love that.
With Move, I believe we don't have infinite universes anymore.
No, we're trying to skip that entirely.
That's good. Yeah. Feels like an important first.
Yeah, but the main thing is like in Move or on Sui, everything is an object, and that is just like great for us because previously we used EVM and we were running Ethereum-based blockchains layer 2s, and there we used a great framework called Mud that was built by the Lattice team, and that gave us the opportunity of kind of putting things into kind of objects, but it was more of a tables, and there we could have table structures instead of the key value structure that is built into Solidity, the EVM smart contract. So that was a great help, but now it's just natively supported. And another thing that comes with Sui is just it's natively supported to have like CK login. That kind of maps to account abstraction where you just log in with email and password. We have like randomness on chain. We have all sorts of things that are natively supported on Sui, and that's basically Sui decided after EVM became popular and had their smart contract to kind of learn, okay, what can we do to kind of be able to build games and other scalable applications on chain, and voila, this is what we have.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been thinking almost like if you zoom out a bit, like Bitcoin. One of the first major implementations of blockchain. It exists. It's very basic. Does kind of one thing, and people trying to figure out other ways to do things with it, but they have to kind of hack around it. And eventually, sort of the next generation comes along. It has smart contracts to allow people to do some of these things that we're hacking around on. Now they can do it natively.
Yeah.
And EVM and all the compatible stuff that comes from that, and computations on chain and blah blah blah. And then as time goes by, people like Lattice building Mud are kind of hacking our ways around the technical limitations that just people hadn't envisioned at the time when Ethereum was being created. Now we are in this sort of third generation where they're looking at what they were trying to do, and they can build it from scratch to do what they want. And I think one of the main benefits, and you can probably attest to this, going with Sui, is the team at Mysten Labs. They're very close to it.
Yeah, I was about to say
they're very, very engaged. I mean, if you're on our Discord, you'll see that they're in answering people's questions as well. They've been phenomenal to work with, and having direct access to the people who are literally making the language and the tech that we're working with means that it's no longer just us deploying onto some sort of ecosystem that we hope is moving in the right direction. We have a chance to kind of influence it and get direct support.
I was going to ask about that too, because I know
Yes.
you've been working a lot with these guys over the last couple of months now.
I have, and especially these days when I've been here in
I was going to say,
so
I mean, you came here specifically for this, and we're going to get to in just a few minutes about what you've been kind of in the paint on over recently. But I mean, would you say that just to echo Kitty's point here, this idea that working with these guys directly is such a huge boon to what we're trying to accomplish, because there's no middleman, right?
Naturally, I mean, when you have direct contact with the people who are actually behind the actual, coding language, it's naturally a great beneficial, right? So I know that one of the guys who is here now, who has been cooking with me in the studio for a couple of days, he's also going to be staying behind for a couple of days and working together with the tech team here. So it's, I mean, and in my opinion, this is pretty awesome, to have people so close and actually be able to have them hands on.
It is nice too. I mean, really there is no like in between. There's no other party. It's just us and the people who are actively working on developing the fundamental language in which the game is spoken in. And that's got to be pretty cool. So let's before we get into again the big news, let's just talk real quick about what this has been. So when people wanted to know when we first announced we were going to make the transition over to SWE, one of the first questions, of course, was why, right? I mean, you've been working on EVM, you've been working with Mud recently. Like, why would you now? EVM is an established network. I mean, Ethereum is a name brand, right? And SWE is maybe a smaller party in a pretty big pond at this point. So the question then was, well, why would you go with somebody like SWE when you've already got this this framework on something that people are more familiar with and more more used to, I guess, in very broad strokes. So I guess from your point of view, from a technical point of view, what kind of benefits does SWE offer? Maybe not necessarily that EVM wouldn't offer, but that you guys think that SWE will do, that will perform very well for.
Mm-hmm. So I think like the non-technical things, the things that the guys mentioned is just like having a team that is dedicated. It's not like, it's great to have a decentralized chain that no one really owns, but it's really good when there's a team that is dedicated to like bringing updates and everything to it. So that's like number one. But from a technical standpoint, I think like it is the scalability part. So we are running on L1. We can now do everything in parallel with any others. Like, they're not affecting our kind of throughput.
Sure.
We are like touching our packets, that is the world packets. We can have any other packets we want, but if someone is changing items or objects in that world, that doesn't affect anyone else. So they can support.
We're totally isolated from other.
Yeah, really. But still, we share the same chain, so we don't need to bridge up to an L1, going there, going into another L2 where another game is running. We are just sharing the same chain, but it's how they operate, that everything is an object. You really don't care if I'm changing my object and you're changing yours. I don't really have to know that you're changing it.
Right.
But EVM just operates on an address model where it's different, where you have to go by transactions. You have to verify that everything is in sync. That's just not the case with SWE.
And one of the things that we've talked about a lot is that SWE really does feel kind of built for games for that reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
We one of the biggest concerns always when people talk about games that have blockchains integrated into their backend has always been speed, right? Because people see how long sometimes it takes to make transactions, and they go, "Oh my gosh, how can you build a game around this? Is going to take such a long time." And things have been, I think, pretty good with Frontier so far. I mean, it's not been to the point where people have started to complain, but always, I think we're trying to push us a little bit faster. And it sounds like what you're talking about is something that there's any one transaction does not affect the latency of any other transactions that are happening at the same time.
Yeah, unless you're touching the same object.
Yeah.
So if we would create this more with the kind of solar system within a solar system within a box, we would do it like in the wrong way.
Sure.
We could definitely create like one world object where everyone shares the same thing and everyone's touching it, but we're trying to do exactly not that.
That feels like it'd be a problem regardless of which system we're using.
No, but I was thinking about, because this I've learned this week, the parallel transaction and also the 120,000 transaction per second which is
120,000 transactions per second.
Per second, it can handle that. Which is
pretty good.
Pretty awesome,
I have no frame of reference, but it doesn't feel bad.
And for gameplay, I think this is a very, very important thing.
Yeah, I mean that's more than enough for what we need at the moment in time. So the cool thing is, in just my time working on Frontier, I've seen this particular metric advance so much. The technology is moving very quickly. When you look at Tranquility for EVE Online, the database, it runs a single Microsoft SQL database, which is kind of nuts. And it gets 1 billion transactions a day, which is insane. And when we started on this project, there was just no way you could do 1 billion transactions a day on any form of chain stuff. And one of the things that, I can't even remember who said it first, but we were talking about this and someone's like, we don't have to build a solution now, we just have to know that it's coming at some point. Like, it's always moving. And then even when some of the first playtests we had, it was like a sort of a 5-second block time. And then with some of the earlier like phases, it was then down to 2, and then 1. And I don't know what it's running at now on Mud, but it's pretty snappy by comparison to even the last couple of years. So then the next leap onto SWE, and basically taking that out of the equation for now, we don't have to be concerned about throttling ourselves.
Sure.
And that number will advance. It's advanced over the last couple of years, orders of magnitude.
Sure.
And it will continue to advance orders of magnitude, I am sure.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I mean, obviously this is a huge deal. We've talked a lot about when this thing is going to be rolled out. I think we're still aiming for March.
Yeah.
March is what we're aiming for.
We're aiming for March.
Yep. Okay. That would be big. Yep. I mean, this is going to come with a ton of other stuff too. I mean, one of the biggest things people have been talking about recently is location obfuscation, which is not something we have currently.
Yes.
And it has been an issue.
Yeah. This is actually, I just want to talk about that very briefly, because this is a really interesting intersection between technical and gameplay.
Yeah.
Because when you design something for like total decentralization and openness and stuff like that, you can make this like perfect system that is totally provable and everything is great all the time. But then things like location are visible and you know everything. And all that, like, that's not very fun from a gameplay point of view. So we had to kind of come into some of these technical discussions with, yes, this may be the technically most pristine solution, but how does that live within the world of EVE Frontier? How does that affect the game? And one of the first ones, moving into SWE, bringing in things like location obfuscation is a really important thing. And there's a bunch more like that will start to be unlocked from it. Yeah, I'm excited for that. We've had a lot of discussions on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think like as well, like from a technical standpoint, is just the move programming language compared to Solidity. It is just a bit simpler. It's more like regular programming language.
Yeah.
Solidity is kind of like trying to capture everything where you need to account for blockchain specific things. You need to do stuff. But Move is built on Rust. It's really similar. Everything like with types and structure and everything that is there. And it is compiled. So we know on compile time if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
So that gives us a lot of flexibility, and especially when we start to talk about the hackathon, it's like bringing in agents now, which is really interesting for hackers to kind of bring in their own AI agents to like, hey, I want to deploy a storage unit, and they can compile the code and see it run, and that is like really exciting compared to doing it basically on runtime with Solidity.
So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here now because we are going to talk about the hackathon. That is the big news, obviously. But just before we get to that, I guess the real question would be, do you guys then feel like Move is a more approachable language than Solidity?
Yes.
For the average user?
Yes. I think like in the past, we're more focused on like hiring in people that have the experience of like programming in Solidity.
Yeah.
Like we would need that. We really wanted to lean into that. Now we're more like, hey, this is just any other language. It has a bit of a different kind of data storage factor, but that's it. Kind of, you're now writing Move that is basically Rust.
Now I know you just earlier today were deploying things.
I actually a
bit of a programmer over here. Yes.
Well, I'm not a developer at all. But today I've written my first lines of code.
Hell yeah!
Wow.
And I even compiled it, and I've even deployed it on testnet. So I made a smart contract, and I'm not gonna disclose exactly what I did, but I had 3 different functions.
Okay,
I
start.
An init, as it's called. What else did I do? I did the functions, and then I did Well, one more thing I can't remember exactly on top of my head. It was, anyways, I did deploy and it worked, and it's on testnet. So
sure.
Wow.
So I guess my question then for you would be, I mean, I'm just nothing but a fancy country lawyer myself.
Yeah.
As somebody who has no education
Yeah.
in these kind of finer technical details, would you think that this sort of language is approachable for someone a lot of my caliber?
I would absolutely say so, and that's also a little bit the reason why I've done it. I mean, I've sat here in this studio for a couple of days, and the thing is that we are documenting.
There you go.
A beginner's journey.
Love that.
Following a non-developer. Well, I don't want to call myself a zero, but it's basically documenting a zero to actually deploying something, and hopefully something meaningful in the frontier.
Oh, yes.
And as a part of kind of lowering the barrier, we are, checking out if I can do something end to end, and if I can do it,
then you can do it.
Then you can.
I can do it. Well, maybe not me.
Well, also, I mean, like CCP already touched on it briefly, but because it's compile time, and you mentioned agents, and we're working towards something like with our documentation being accessible as well to agents. So, do you want to explain why that's quite important?
Yeah, I think like now we are focusing on like giving builders or players access to MCP servers, so they can basically give the agents the context of our documentation, of our contracts, and they can more kind of chat about the documentation and about the code, and they can prompt like, hey, I would really want to try this. And our goal really is that you can deploy something that is relatively basic, and then you can decide, like, let's say that you are able to deploy a shared tribe storage, then you can change who is allowed to access that. Is it like multiple tribes? Is it one tribe? You can change that tiny little detail. You don't have to come up with a whole contract yourself. You can basically ask an agent to, hey, I want this kind of behavior, and the behavior,
and because it's already read the documentation.
Yes,
it already knows all of that information ahead of time.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to when we first started doing some of this stuff, the documentation. In terms of how to get your first thing up and running, configure even just a basic smart storage unit, was pages and pages and pages, and some of it, the initial version started with install Linux, and things like that, and it was just wild, just to get even the most basic stuff up and running. Now with this, it means that the barrier of entry is just getting lower and lower and lower. It's super important.
Lakal brings up an interesting point. Shout out to Lakal always in chat about how it does really feel like Frontier is kind of coming at this very interesting time in the history of development and the history of computer engineering as a whole, because now we have these AI, these agentic systems, these LLMs that are able to competently, to a certain extent, write and create these systems that then, with some oversight, obviously, players are now able to use in a more competent way than they ever have been before.
Yes. I mean, it's very much some of these things, like I kind of said earlier on when we were talking about like the TPS on the chains and stuff like that. We knew when we set off down this journey that a bunch of the things we needed had not been developed yet, just didn't exist. And for a long time, I've been kind of describing the development of eFrontier like that scene in Wallace and Gromit, where Gromit's on the train and it's running out of tracks.
Yeah, just putting tracks ahead of him.
Like, and that's kind of like I was right. It's very, very good time, because all the stuff is kind of like these are the track pieces that are landing directly in front of us as we continue. And there's still stuff that we need at some point in the future that doesn't exist yet, but I'm sure it will. Do
you ever? And I think the answer to this is probably like way more nuanced than we're gonna have time for here. But we're talking about all these new systems and these new these agents and these new ways for people to turn their ideas into something that is workable and real in a certain extent. Do you feel like the pace of progress is maybe even outpacing our own scope? Like, do you think that this is something that a year from now, 2 years from now, we're gonna have to like be, we did not think big enough about this thing? Or do you feel like we're just, we've left it so open-ended at this point that we're saying, the sky's the limit, and we're willing to accept just about whatever comes our way?
Yeah, I mean, our scope, according to the mission statement of CCP, is we create virtual worlds more meaningful than real life. So that means everything's in scope. So we can't ever really fulfill the scope of that. It's always good to aim for something that is, we're always aiming up, essentially. And there's a good question in chat: how much of Frontier will be AI written? So we're not prompting the game into existence, but we're making the game usable by players who want to use it to augment their experiences. We have a bunch of extremely talented developers.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of engineers. Listen, this is a team full of people who are actually.
This is the veneer.
There are actually going to be people who write this game. I mean, you know, we've been pretty good about using a lot of the tools. Obviously, you know, we don't use, you know, AI for any of the creative stuff. Obviously, any of the actual coding on our end. But you know, we live in a world where people now have access to these tools, and when you talk about a game where there is a certain level of functionality that can be that can open up the universe in a wider way towards people who are able to do this, it would be naive of us to think that people are not going to use those tools.
Automation simply reduces the amount of time wasted doing menial stuff, and you can take this to the logical extreme and say, if you say, I don't use any automation, it's like, okay, if you use Photoshop, do you ever use like the color picker, or do you ever do like an automatic selection to remove the background or something like that? Because that is using algorithms to, say if you're having to like trace around something by hand, saves you 5 minutes, and everyone's happy to use that. So that's my personal view on it. I also think that vibe coding's existed since the 70s, or whenever the first like manager told a junior intern to make something. And then they came back and went, no, I want it more like that. Yeah. Like that's basically what vibe coding is. It's
just meat instead of computers doing it. Yeah.
So we use it as like a tool, but the core point is trying to make it so that our documentation, the chain related stuff, is more accessible for people, and you can use it as a tool if you want to lower the barrier for entry. Custom built stuff is almost certainly going to be faster and better. It always is. But at the end of the day, you trade off speed sometimes.
All right. Well, with that all being said, we are going to be wrapping this up before too long. But before we do, I would be remiss if I did not mention the big news that came up yesterday, which was the hackathon. Hackathon. Yes. We are
some chungus prizes.
Yeah. So before I'm going to leave this up here so you can look at that. If you want any more information, go to that address there. I'm going to leave it up here for like 2 seconds. 1, 2, you can come back to you understand how VODs work. You can come back to the video whenever you want to. The hackathon, we're doing a hackathon in March.
Expecting more slides with
that was it. No, it's really just this one. Yep,
it looks great.
So that's where you sign up.
Thank you.
That's where you sign up for the hackathon.
That's where you sign up for the hackathon.
Yes.
We have more information there as well. So this is a hackathon we're running in March to kind of kick off our transition, obviously, to SWE. We're going to try to inspire builders, inspire people to build and build things that people will use on the frontier. Right. Whether those be logistics systems, whether they be security systems, whether they just be funny things that you can do with your friends. There are some great rewards for this. And CCP DGent, I know you've been involved a lot in the planning of this thing.
Yeah, cooking a lot.
So what are we looking at prize wise for?
Well, I mean, it's an amazing prize. The total prize pot is $80,000 worth US dollars.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty substantial reward. That's for sure.
And there are a lot of different prize categories as well. I mean,
there's like top 3, and then there's a bunch of like special ones, including like my favorite is like weirdest entry or something like that. I can't remember the exact word.
I think all of the separate categories as well all have like $5,000 prize, and it's like $5,000 cash plus a certain number of tokens from SWE, and then a certain number of Eve points, and then a certain number of I think the top prize includes tickets, 5 tickets and lodging to come to Iceland
and
flights for FanFest.
Yeah. Yes,
that is an insane prize. I don't think we've ever given anything else. I mean,
kind of semi-hope like an Australian team doesn't win.
Hey, you're on the clock, Australia. Figure it out. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. I mean, we've done hackathons before, obviously.
Yes.
Never anything quite to the same scale.
This is our 4th, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because we did one last year during FanFest.
Yeah.
Yep. We've done 2 on-site, 1 remote. This one is going to be remote as well. And
yeah.
And it runs from the 11th of March.
11th of March.
Up until the 31st of March.
And the Mysten Labs guys are helping us with the organization and the execution of this as well, which is amazing because the very first time we ever ran a hackathon, Caesar will remember me, him, Caesar, a good fella, in the office until 3 in the morning, and I've got a screenshot somewhere of me summarizing it at about 11 p.m. and basically like listing all the things that aren't working, and CCP Goodfella being like, "What is working?" And then there's another photo of CCP, I think it's CCP Rauður, like presenting the welcome sort of thing. All the teams are there, all the people are there, and you see them all listening, and he's on stage talking. And if you look to the side, you see me sitting with my head on a laptop, and at that moment, I'm trying desperately to get the server to start. Yeah, like it was touch and go. It's way more smooth these days to do this kind of stuff. Yeah. We've got a lot better.
Yeah, we've certainly ironed out a bunch of the kinks. Let's very, very briefly just talk about the kind of things that you're looking for. I mean, because you obviously, I think, probably have this idea in your head of what sort of things you might expect to see coming out of this. And I don't even mean just like what the individual entries themselves will be. I guess more in very broad strokes and very generally, what kind of things do you want to see people doing during this hackathon that will then give you the comfort to say, oh yeah, we're going to be okay. Like the people are going to know what they're doing going forward.
Yeah, I think like we just excited to get to see people hack on Sui, like how that's gonna look like and what they're able to come up with. I think like they're always able to amaze us. We're just really blown away every time. And I think one thing is maybe the location obfuscation is now an interesting factor into stuff. We've already seen the community come up with like CK proofs on top of the things that we are kind of working on. So there's no lack there. I think it's going to be interesting to see if, like, I think maybe bringing it into the AI conversation earlier is like we are just making the door a bit wider. Yeah. Right? Like maybe 1% of our people could like code in Solidity. Now we're moving over, like they can use agents. Maybe we have 10-15% that are like comfortable with like prompting agents and doing something. So that's going to be great. Yep. But then I think like our builders and our community, they've been so amazing at building something that we have never thought of. Now I think they're going to start to introduce, like, what if we put these LLMs somewhere where they can interact with stuff, like on runtime, where they are doing stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what now the 1% is going to do while they have the agents and everything that they know. And I think, like, that's going to be really interesting. But the thing for this hackathon is, like, having people do services that, like, use our smart assemblies. Yep. They are able to maybe create tools that where you can advertise, hey, I have a service, and this is now being able to be deployed on Stillness as well. So when we go for the hackathon, we're gonna go on Stillness as well on Sui. So we want to have this kind of in parallel that people can hack on our test server and then move it onto Stillness.
Cool.
Yeah, there's also a 10% kind of a judging bonus if you are able to deploy on Stillness, or if you do. So
it's a hell of an effort, honestly. Yes. It's gonna be very interesting to see it happen too, because this is coming after our March patch.
Yep. This is when we have a content update.
Which, who was that directed at?
no one. And some new stuff coming in then. And also it's our big deployment onto Sui. Yeah. And this has been a something a long time coming. The team has been working extremely hard on this. It is just a monumental amount of technical debt to pick up and move across and bring it back down in a functioning fashion. Yep. And as we get closer and closer to it, and I'm seeing like more firsts being posted in internal channels for the first time this has happened on Sui, blah blah blah. It's the feeling I have is very much like, you know, when you've booked a holiday and it's like 6 months away and you're like, okay, that's cool. And then now it's like a couple days before and you're getting like, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm looking forward to going. And then it's like the day before and you're like, here we go. Yeah. Like tomorrow's the day.
Real night before Christmas energy.
Yeah. It's really, it's giving me that vibe. So there's a lot of pressure to deliver this.
Pressure.
Oh yeah.
It's good with pressure.
One of the questions in chat real fast about,
he's actually only 18.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. You wouldn't know. Shit does something to a man. Roaming, as everyone know, can also even enter. Terms and conditions seem a bit restrictive. The terms and conditions are a little wonky in terms of like some of the wording. Don't worry about that. If you want to enter, you can enter. Take my word for it. You will know if you cannot enter. We're gonna get some more clarity out there before too long. Basically,
I'm sure a bunch of lawyers just went, ugh.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had this whole conversation last night. It effectively says like, hey, you can enter if you're from these places. Also, you can't enter if you're from these places. And then there's a bunch of people in the middle who are like, wait a second, but what about us? And we're like, oh no. The answer is yes. If you are not from one of the places that is restricted, you can enter the hackathon. That is how it works.
So it's a blacklist, not a whitelist.
Well, we have a blacklist and a whitelist currently.
But the whitelist is useless.
But the whitelist is effectively useless, yes.
Okay.
Listen, that's the wisdom I've been given. If I'm wrong, I'm going to drag some people to legal hell with me. But I don't think I'm wrong. So here's hoping.
No, everybody can join.
We'll figure it out. Anyway,
should we commit to some more stuff?
Hang on now. Yeah, I hear we're going to have, I hear we're going to have like 79 new models by March. Like, Maximum Cats himself has been in the studio drawing stuff.
Yeah.
It's been great. All right, well, listen, we're gonna call it here because I know everybody at this table has a lot of stuff that they have left to do. Except for me, I don't have that much left to do. I'm just gonna be chilling the rest of the day. It's gonna be very nice.
One more thing.
Go.
Discord.
Yes.
The source of truth. So
oh yeah.
Head over there. There's the hackathon announcements is gonna be there. All the information, documentation, the EveNet tutorial videos, stuff is going to be dropping there all the time.
We have a whole new hackathon area there that you put together?
I put it together.
Yep.
Yes, I did. There is a section for you who are not builders. If you want to request something that you want, built, you can do it in the build request section. We're gonna do Q&As, a lot of stuff. So that's kind of where you should be hanging out if you want to.
Well, and any of these teams who enter for the hackathon, it's not just developers or not just
no. Developers are shit at coming up with ideas. Trust me. I think last year's hackathon we did here actually was quite fun. We had some internal teams as well.
Yeah.
And CCP Two-Faced Monkey and CCP Vian were sitting trying to think of an idea.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
I walked up to them. I was like, "Do you want me to just tell you the winning idea?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "What's that?" And I told them the idea, and they were like, "Oh, that's really good." So then they built that, and then it won. But of course, they couldn't win because they were internal team. So it went to the next one down. And I was like, "Told you."
Yeah, I mean, just to not just text, not just code, but art.
Yep. That makes a huge difference.
Audio, if you have
presentation, presentation programmer matters. Graphics are awful. You should all understand this and don't even pretend that you're good at it. And then when you skin something and make it look good and fun to use, it adds such a vibe to it that makes a huge difference.
Remember what Megamind taught us, everybody? The difference between a villain and a supervillain is presentation.
Yep.
And the difference between a winning hackathon entry and a not winning hackathon entry might also be presentation.
Yes.
So, from all of us here at CCP Iceland, we'll be back next week with some more cool stuff. Check out our Discord, discord.gg/evefrontier. I'm pretty sure that address still works. You can also check out this address up here if you want to sign up for the hackathon. It's up over that way. You can see where my finger's at. You know where it's at.
If you have any questions whatsoever about anything, it doesn't have to be about eFrontier.
Yeah,
it can be about your personal life, whatever.
That's true.
Slide straight into CCP
Oh
Jötunn's
boy,
DMs.
don't like that. Don't like that even a little bit.
In. And he actually prefers it if you write line by line, enter, not a paragraph because that's harder to read.
Oh yeah,
It's a nice continuous.
I love those 3 a.m. Notifications.
Stream of consciousness really.
I get about every little thing that breaks on stillness.
And then if it says he has the notifications snooze, you can just do like an at. Add them multiple times and it will just power through.
Anytime a single NPC doesn't spawn in the site and I get 19 notifications about it, I love that. It's really what keeps me going.
It really is.
Straight over a cliff.
That might be an idea for the hackathon.
Oh boy, don't like that one.
Scheduler that sends in.
Don't like that even a little bit.
Like
from us here at CCP Iceland, I've been CCP Jötunn. This has been CCP DGent. That's Overload. That's Rauður. You've been listening to Frontier Friday, and until next time, we will see you on the frontier. Have a good day. See ya.
See ya.